Hello, welcome on.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm, like I said earlier, I'm super excited to talk about this Staticom. For those watching, this is Tony Rathman, and he is created Staticom, hand built, right?
Correct. Staticom was originally put together by some former counterparts of ours, but it was through a method known as direct radio voice, which direct radio voice was determined by a European gentleman named Friedrich Jurgensen. And he realized that on a vacant radio station that he was getting voices. So he passed that information. He did tests upon tests. He shared that information with Konstantin Radova and another gentleman named Marcello Bacci. Marcello Bacci is probably the one most known for it because he used it for about 35 years. He was tested by scientists in lab. They could not figure out how this was occurring. And they removed his vacuum tubes in the old radio one by one, trying to determine whether he would still get voices. And he did. And the scientists said, well, I've taken out the first two. If I take out the third one and you still get voices, I'll eat it. Pulled the third one. Sure enough, Marcello still got voices. And then Marcello said, don't eat that. That's glass. But the point is that A, he couldn't be debunked. And B, that the only thing they could remove to keep the voices from coming through was Marcello himself. Wow. So our counterparts at that time brought back direct radio voice because most people in America, when they hear the term ITC or instrumental transcommunication, they instantly think of a spirit box because that's what's shown on TV. That's what people know. But direct radio voice was a much better method of communicating. So we worked with them for about 3 years. We then decided that there were two major drawbacks to spirit communication. One is that it used a radio, because any scientist or skeptic is going to say, wait a minute, you're getting voices, but you're claiming these are from the other side, but yet you're using a device that is made to take RF signal and convert it either to speech or music. So, they didn't believe that could possibly be happening. Then the other problem was through a lot of other communications such as EVP, it's really hard to hear what's being said. And they would claim that you're hearing what you want to hear. It's only warbles and artifacts of sound, not actual communication. So the first thing we did was remove the radio and replaced it with a white noise generator. So now no radio wave, no satellite, walkie-talkie, baby monitor, nothing. Any wave that circulates in the atmosphere cannot be picked up or polluted in the transmission because it's a closed circuit system. So that eliminated the fact that people were claiming you're picking up stray radio waves. That is now off the table. It's pure white noise. That's the only input into the filtration process. White noise contains no vocal data whatsoever, no words, no sentences, no syllables, nothing. So that speech technically cannot come from the white noise, shouldn't be there, but yet we can ask questions and get full sentence responses.
So you had sent me some fun clips. I want to play the initial one just so people get an idea.
Well, before you do that, there's actually 3 systems in there. So the first one you want to play is the one labeled Bacci DRV, because that was direct radio voice.
All right, so here we go.
Marcello, can you see us?
Yes.
Thank you. Marcello, you started this method. It's working. Can you please try to communicate with us?
That's cool. To
Yeah.
actually try to contact the original maker. Did you get anything back from that?
Yeah, he just said, my wife said, this is your system, your method. Can you communicate with us? He clearly said, I'd say glad to meet you.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, did you have more dialogue or nothing else?
Well, okay, so let me explain how this works. So that was direct radio voice using still a radio. But the clarity is in that clip. I mean, you can clearly hear him say, I'd say glad to meet you. The concern when moving forward was it was the system used a radio. The second problem was that one clear clip is probably the only one we got that clear in about a year of research. So then what we did was we took the radio out, we added a white noise generator, and that's the clips that you'll will follow in the Staticom 2.0. But communication would come through. None of them as clear as that one. But had we heard from Bocce at other times? We had.
Wow, that's cool. Cool to know that he's with you through your journey. Yeah.
Correct.
So the next clip, which one should that be? You want to make sure we play them in order.
You can play either of the 2.0.
Okay.
Either one of
them. Where is it? I have one. There you go. Okay.
Can you say Tony? Did you just say Rathman? Yep. So you know who I am. Can I know who you are? Yes, sir. Thank you. Who am I speaking to?
Wow. Very clear.
Yeah. So the clarity didn't change much from the one clip. What changed was the amount of communication we received. Like I said, the one that Bocce said, I'd say glad to meet you, we think is Bocce. We can't prove it. But 2.0 gave more clarity than we got from DRV. So the funny part about the clip that we just played is, again, there's no way for it to pick up any outside signals floating in the atmosphere. There's no mics used. I'm literally speaking in my normal tone of voice, like I'm speaking now without microphones, yet they can answer me with timing and relevance to the question that I asked and with intelligence. I literally said, hey, you said my name, and I said, can you say Tony? Yet they used my full Anthony name with the response. And I said, okay, you know who I am. Who am I speaking to? First and last names. Now, are those spelling correct? I don't know. I'm going off the audio only. But that's pretty impressive when you think of the communication compared to like an SB7 Spirit Box or something along those lines.
Game changer in the paranormal world, for sure.
Not exactly. I completely agree. Not only just for the paranormal, but the fact that consciousness must survive death in order for these responses to come through. For scientists to take a look at, this method is repeatable. You can turn it on. You don't even have to ask a question. You can sit back and you can listen to them speak to each other. And we've heard everything from fights to them sounding like they're in the middle of a party to them complaining that they're, things aren't going right, to them being absolutely shocked that all of a sudden I'll say something and they'll be like, oh my gosh, he can hear us. And I'll be like, yeah, I can hear you.
That would be something amazing in my household. I live in what I think it's haunted. My place is haunted, and things fly across the room. My husband and I are like, "What the hell?" I would be curious to hear what's actually being said. Like why are they throwing things not at us, just like across the room?
Right.
That would be interesting. Can only imagine they're probably talking crap about us. But yeah, so I want to play one more clip and then I have a few questions. I'm going to play another of the 2.0.
Okay.
How do you hear me speak?
Now,
Wow.
amazing response. My wife and I focused on EVPs probably for the first, 10 years. And we did a lot of EVP work because we were fascinated when you could get a voice out of nowhere. And then we built spirit boxes for 12. And then for the last 3 is all been Staticom. But what I wanted to know was if I'm not broadcasting my voice and I'm only speaking in my normal tone of voice, which produces a physical sound wave, which travels through the atmosphere for a limited amount of distance before it dissipates. If their spirit, consisting of what we assume to be energy, frequency, and vibration, and they don't have human ears, how do they hear me speak?
Mm-hmm.
That was my question. And their answer was, we call it death, energy of your mind. That's the thing. Now that fits a lot of scenarios because doing years of EVP work, a lot of times the answer would show up on the recorder before I even finished asking the questions. And that makes sense that it's a conscious transmission of what I'm asking, not a vocal one.
Completely mind-blowing. You may have cracked the whole theories behind paranormal research here. I think we've always just chased it. What is it that connects us? And now it almost feels like that now we know. That's 100%. You just proved it. So
well, we're still, the research still continues. Could we be wrong on, parts?
Maybe.
We could, but the fact of the matter is that the communication is still there. There's nobody in front of us. I'm not broadcasting my voice, yet I ask a question and the response shows up with timing and relevance and showing clear intelligence.
Right. Yeah. I guess our intelligence transcends time and space or whatever.
Right.
So, how did you get into this? Like, kind of, how long have you been doing? You kind of seems like it's been a long time. So
15 years we've been focused on this, and it took all 15 to get it to where it is today, which is Staticom 3.0. But we focused, like I said, started out in 2010. I was fascinated by EVPs, but actually, to back up, I didn't believe any of this 15 years ago. What got me into it was my wife. 15 years ago on Valentine's Day in 2010, she said, I want to do something different. I said, okay, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to go ghost hunting. And I was like, oh,
oh my God, no.
But I had 2 choices. I could take her or have her mad at me until next Valentine's Day.
Right.
Didn't want that.
No.
So I played along. I booked a haunted hotel for the weekend. I bought her some relatively inexpensive equipment, night vision camera, digital recorder, and an EMF meter. And I thought, okay, she'll have fun. So we went for the weekend. I played along. I asked questions, did everything that I knew she'd want me to do. And I thought, okay, this is done. We can forget about this. Well, she started going through the evidence. There were things in the photos that weren't there when we took it. There were strange shadows and figures in the video. But the thing that fascinated me most was the EVP, because we were the only 2 in areas of this hotel that we probably shouldn't even have been in. But yet there were responses. Again,
Wow.
responses with intelligence to the questions that we were asking. And that blew me away. So that got me interested in EVP, from there to Spirit Box,
Wow.
ITC, and then now to Staticom.
I think I agree with, you don't believe and then you actually experience it, and it changes the way you look at the whole, paranormal, you know, EVPs, all of it just changes the way you look at it. It makes you wonder, like, am I really able to communicate? We talk often, some of our discussion episodes about like our higher conscious, and we're not always using all of our brain. So if we were able to, would we be able to actually see spirits, not just hear them? I mean, you never know. So,
I guess my answer to that question is, unless it was through a form that consciousness provided you outside of the human senses, maybe. But the human body literally limits us on every level. Our visual acuity is based to visual light only. So anything infrared, the ultraviolet spectrum, outside of our means to see or determine what's going on there. Same thing with our hearing. Our hearing is limited to 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. That doesn't include a variety of other spectrums, including ultrasound, and where the human body just can't determine what's going on. So I would think if it would be possible, it would have to be outside of our 5 human senses.
probably.
But would it be possible? Absolutely, it could.
You never know.
Staticom does is it brings their voices into the range of our hearing to allow us to figure out what it is they're saying.
I'm going to do one of the 3.0 clips, and then I have a few more questions.
Spirit, Cherie isn't getting sick, is she? Is Cherie getting sick, Spirit? Yes. What should she take? Who created Staticom?
Wow, that was good.
So now here's the difference between 2.0 and 3.0. 2.0 was better at giving more clarity in the responses. 3.0, the clarity is always there. There was one called Initial, which is fine. We can play that one later. But so my wife was not feeling well. And so I asked the question. Now, granted, 3.0 is maybe 3 weeks old. So you're not going to hear any research questions. We haven't even gotten there yet.
Right.
When I changed the programming, when I got the coding done, voices just started coming in. These couple of clips, I think, were the first night. And as you can see, I just said, because my wife said to me, I'm not feeling well, I'm in pain. And so I said, hey, spirits, is Cherie getting sick? It's possible. Then they said yes. And I said, what should she take? Well, they said a word that I didn't know what it was until I looked it up, Percodan. Percodan is a combination of OxyContin and aspirin. So it's prescription strength. It's for pain. I didn't even know what it was when I heard it until I looked.
Yeah. So they wanted her to have the highest level of pain relief. So,
and luckily, I think she took some Theraflu or something. And
there you go. Yeah.
So we didn't end up having to take her to the doctor. But when I looked up Percodan and realized that it was a prescription strength pain reliever, I was like, wow.
Wow. Yeah. They want to make sure she was okay. I'm going to play that initial one right now.
Okay. Before you do.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was still making the changes. I was still working on the upgrade, and voices just started coming through.
Wow.
And as you'll notice, my wife realized they were speaking and then started the conversation.
Okay, here we go.
Speaker!
I heard it.
Who are you trying to find? You're nervous. What?
Right there.
Yeah. Are you trying to send us a message?
Roger. Roger meaning yes or Roger meaning Roger?
Are you talking about Roger Martin?
Wow, that's really
So that's how 3.0 began, and we've been doing research on it since. We did a little reconstruction to the method. We constantly continue to try to upgrade, but it's at a point where, as you can tell, you're not struggling. No one can tell me that that's warbles or artifacts. I mean, that's speech.
yeah,
And
definitely.
not only is it speech, it's speech clear enough to understand. Even if those words, I didn't annotate those words, you'd still be able to hear and say, okay, he said this or they said this. That again makes a huge difference in ITC compared to where 4 of the 5 people in the group would say, well, I heard this. No, I heard that. I heard something different.
Yeah, that is the clearest I've ever heard anything, like all the different spirit boxes and stuff. That's definitely the clearest.
Thank you.
Is this something that you're going to sell to make available for other paranormal teams to use, or is it exclusive to you?
Well, right now it's the only one that exists. There are other people that are, working along similar lines, and there's a gentleman that's showing people how to set up like the very initial setup that we started with, by the name of Keith J. Clark. If it's something that people are wanting to go down that road, wanting to see what can happen. The only thing I want to say is it requires 2 things. 1, patience, because it's not like a spirit box that you just flip on. There are all sorts of configurations. It helps to know a little bit about how sound works, and some other things. But somebody with real, true determination, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, totally. Do you ever find that you like stop working with it that day and things go bump in the night in your house? And do the spirits kind of follow you, or do you think it's just exclusive to the?
We've never had a problem doing spirit communication with things in the house or strange activity. Now, we've also been paranormal investigators for 15 years. So bringing something back from locations we've been to, we operated the Phelps Dodge Hospital for 4 years. We did tours. We did overnight investigations. We let people from all over the country come investigate that location. That got sold back in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But have we brought things into the house from locations where we were called to figure out what was going on? Yeah, we have.
Wow. How do you make them go away?
Well, we had lots of friends that were either involved with the Catholic Church or were trained to actually do exorcisms. We had a house in Vegas we were called to that a friend of ours actually went and performed an exorcism to clear that house. So
Wow.
Connections was the key for us.
Yeah, I imagine when you're doing paranormal investigations, you tend to make quite a few contacts in that realm.
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
So outside of all of this, do you guys have anything as far as your paranormal investigations videos, things that the fans could watch? I mean, anything that you have from the past?
Absolutely. There's an entire YouTube channel called Staticom. There's, I don't even know, 150 different clips of captures from DRV to Staticom 2.0. And I think there's 4 or 5 from 3.0. But like I said, it's brand new. We have a website called entityvoices.com. There is information on Staticom. There are whole listings of upcoming podcasts we'll be on, places that will be demonstrating live Staticom, including we're going to be at the Paranormal Symposium in Halifax, Canada, showing what this can do. But yeah, and then of course Facebook under Tony Rathman. I'm always posting clips and updates and things that we're working on. So those would probably be the prime areas to take a look at.
And I'll put these up in the YouTube description box so they can find you easy.
Awesome.
So there's one more I wanted to show, and then I had a question and it flew out of my head. I think this one's 4th round of testing. We haven't seen this one yet.
There should be one before that. I think it's titled something communication or something.
There's one responses.
Responses, that's it.
Okay, let's try that one.
Rathman, I heard you say Rathman. Yes. What did you want to say to Roger? It's Tony. Spirits, can you hear me? Yes, okay. That was a loud voice that just answered. What's your name? That's a strange name. How many spirits are here with us right now? A lot? A lot, yeah, that's what I thought you said. Because there's so many of you, is that why all the background chatter? They're talking? Do you have any messages for us?
The spirits are promoting you. They're going to make you a household name.
People always ask us, well, have you gotten into the research? Where are they at? It takes time. And, people see those and they go, wait, why aren't you asking any questions? Well, because this was like day 2 of it functioning and we kept playing around with it to see what kind of responses we would get, whether the voices would disappear. So far, they have not. If we flip it on, they're right there. So the whole research aspect of it is still progressing. But as you can see, it literally, I mean, Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla were both trying to create phones to the dead or spirit phones. This is probably the closest thing yet.
Agreed. I noticed when I, really watch too many different people, but I noticed when you stumble across people with spirit boxes or EVP, devices, you don't always get that level of spirits coming through or the amount. But when I feel like when you have a quality, equipment, the spirits know it. Like they know and they come forward. That's just my thought. So you seem to attract a lot of the voices, a lot of the spirits, probably because they can sense, hey, this is an easy way for us to come communicate.
I would agree with you. The technology does play a factor in them communicating. But believe it or not, the other factor is the person asking the questions. Having done live sessions with live audiences, we'll realize that some people will ask a question and they'll get their answer right away, where other people will ask 2 or 3 times, and it's not until I physically repeat their question does the answer show up. So I think a lot of it has to do with an individual's openness to it, connection to it, and whether they truly believe it or not.
I agree. Yeah. There's so many out there these days, though, and I think no real intention. Sometimes people are just doing it just to hear the spirits. Like, ooh, I heard it. And sometimes I think with that intention, if your intention isn't correct, then they may not come through.
Absolutely, I agree.
So are you planning to take this anywhere, like on the road or to once you're all done?
Absolutely. We plan to do quite a few things. With 2.0, before we upgraded it, we would do live sessions for people to come and hear it, because it's one thing to watch it on the clip. It's another to experience it firsthand. So we plan to bring those back. We, like I said, will be at the Halifax Paranormal Symposium in November. But the other thing we want to do is that anytime we can get information that we can research and look up to determine, is that true or not true? About 94% of the time, even if we don't know it, like the Percodan. I didn't know what Percodan was till I looked it up. But about 94% of the time, that information is 100% accurate. So one of the things we are planning to do with 3.0 is help people try to relieve maybe grief if they lost somebody, and then the other part to that is even worse situation with grief is that if they don't know what happened to them, like a cold case, where we can actually get answers that could maybe solve mysteries regarding foul play.
That would be amazing. I'm come back on the show if you start doing that. I want to hear all about that, because that
already we haven't done it yet. Like I said, there's so many components right now in play. So we're trying to get each one knocked out to be able to start that. But I'm curious as well. We know that spirits or consciousness will not give information about future. Even if I ask a simple question like, what are the Powerball numbers?
Right.
You're not going to get an answer. You're not going to get an answer. Even if I say something like, okay, I have 2 choices. I can do this or I can do this. You don't get an answer. Why? Well, we believe that there are some set of universal laws where they cannot give information that's going to change the life you were put here to go through, to grow, to evolve, and then bring that information back to what we believe to be universal consciousness. And they can't disrupt that. But stuff that's already happened, stuff in the past, we never seem to have a concern with them giving that information if it's already out there. For cold cases, that might be a big plus.
But perhaps they don't know the future, like our future. Even though they're not far from us in a dimension, they may not know what our future holds.
Correct.
To me, that's why they don't tell us. Powerball numbers, I think you're right, though. There's like universal. They probably have rules.
We've actually heard them get in trouble for giving information they're not supposed to, where other entities, spirits have come up going, stop talking. We gotta shut her up. She's saying too much. So
I've actually heard that in other people's spirit box sessions, and you're like, why are the other spirits so angry? And I never thought about that. It's a very good possibility that they're like, hey, shut her up. She can't be telling the people that. So,
right.
Especially in the celebrity ones that you hear people do those celebrity ones, and randomly you'll hear somebody in the background yelling, stop. I'm like, what? So kind of interesting. Maybe they're not supposed to tell us too much about what goes on.
We thoroughly believe that to be the case, that they can't affect your decision making, your path for whatever was chosen for this life to learn, and they know they can't disrupt that.
That's interesting. Like, to people that there's a lot of people I bump into in this realm that we work with, and they talk about speaking to the spirits and not praying, but like asking for assistance of the spirits, and they may not be able to help you at all. So interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that they could, because I think the world would be a different place with as many people that believe in spirits and whatnot. If you were just able to ask them, hey, can you help me out?
Well, think how disrupting that would be. How hard would it be to focus on the here and now if you knew that any information you were looking for. But again, that's part of the research, to find out what they will talk about, what they won't talk about. How far can we push those boundaries for information? And trust me, we've pushed really hard on some of those boundaries. And sometimes one of them says something that the other ones are like, don't say that. But now with better back and forth, clear two-way, which seems so far to be remaining constant, now that research has to start back up again, because we don't know where it ends, or if it does.
One of the cases that I've seen so many spirit boxes on is the Lacey Peterson case. And they're like, did Scott do it? Did he do it? And she seems so confused. Like, what do you mean? So I always wonder, like, if once they've passed, do they know what happened to them? Because I mean, I don't know. Could just be bad spirit box sessions. Who knows? But it's interesting to think, do they know why they died, how they died? Do they even know?
So from our research, they do know. I mean, even when I said, how do you hear me speak? I mean, they clearly said, we call it death, energy of the mind, meaning they transitioned. It's a simple way for him to say, we transitioned. We're not in human body anymore. Right. But, the fact of you said something, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was I was going to comment on. I don't remember.
Just them not knowing, but they say they do. So maybe those sessions are just not. It's hard there with the sound quality sometimes to really make out what those sessions are, what's going on there.
Well, here's the other problem. Is, like I said, we hand created spirit boxes for 12 years. Did we get the voice quality better? Yes, we did. The one thing we could not improve was the length of the communication. We'd get a word or two, maybe a 3 or 4 word sentence at best, and it would never go beyond that. Here's the reason we believe that is the case, is because a spirit box scans up and down a radio dial. And Frank Sumption, who created the spirit box, the Frank's box, believed that spirits would take those fragments of audio from radio stations and rearrange them into new sentences, the sentences they wanted to say. First of all, to have every sound available to you in a fraction of a second to create words, that's kind of problematic. Secondly, to be able to rearrange sounds at the speed of light with no latency to the answer, again, seems complicated. But third, and what we determined, was that when you pick up the radio fragments and you're getting a broadcast signal, it stops them from communicating. Meaning they're not using the audio in the radio, they're using white noise. And so the radio stations that you're scanning through cut the communication. So when you're listening to a spirit box, you'll hear the answer not in the same frequency as whatever's coming through the station, but above or below it. And that's when we said, okay, we don't need the radio. They need white noise, not
Yeah, it seems to be much clearer with just the white noise.
And longer, full sentences.
Yeah. Again, like I said earlier, I feel like it's they must sense the device and know that they can use it with more ease than other devices. So
yeah, they'll even call it out by name.
That's cool. I feel like with them saying your name so often, it's like they're like, hallelujah, Rathman, you know, like you're their hero, because they can now use this more, you know, easily to communicate. So yeah. Any locations that you want to go to, like that you really want to take this to? Any specific haunted places?
Yeah, I want to take it back to the Diplomat Hotel in Baguio City, Philippines. We were there a few years ago. I did not have it with me. I did not have 3.0, but that place is so active. It is crazy. And that's where I want to take it back to.
That would be cool. Do you think when you're in a different country like that you pick up English speaking, or could you potentially pick up other languages?
Well, last time we were there, we got English, Tagalog, Japanese, and Latin.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
All in one investigation. Luckily, my wife speaks 3 of the 4. She speaks, and I speak English, of course.
Yeah.
But she speaks English, Tagalog, and Japanese. So she was able to tell me exactly what was
going on. That's
the
awesome.
one we couldn't determine was the Latin. We found somebody who could interpret it for us. They told us what it said, which again answered the question. But the Diplomat Hotel used to be a monk's retreat, religious retreat house. And of course, they would have spoken Latin, so that makes sense.
Wow. I had someone bring a spirit box to my home one time, and they were whispering in a foreign language. It almost sounded like French, but it wasn't. I speak fluent French, so I know it wasn't. But I couldn't tell. Something very similar, though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We were doing a public session, and we let the audience come up, ask their own question, and get their own answer. It's like a seance, but the best part is you don't have somebody else telling you what they're feeling or what message they got. You can hear it yourself, which is awesome. But he came up and asked a question in his Native American language. So we didn't know what he asked. And so we just stayed quiet, let him listen. And then I saw his face, his eyes go wide. And I said, did you get your answer? And he said, not only did I get my answer, but I got it in my Native American language.
Wow, that's amazing. I think we have one last clip, the 4th round of testing.
Yes.
Okay, let's put that one up.
Time what? I can hear you when you whisper, you know that, right? Spirits, if you're not familiar with this device is called Staticom. If you heard me say Staticom. That's better.
Now can you say Staticom for me, please?
Alright, Spirits, if you don't want to say Staticom, let's play another game. What am I holding in my hand? Glasses, thank you. Thank you very much. How about pineapple? Can you say pineapple? Oh, perfect. Thank you. How come you can't say Staticom like that?
It's one word.
It's one word, Staticom. Have you not been able to talk to humans before? If you can hear me, spirits, say elephant.
Do you know Tony?
It's me. If we use this device to help cold cases, will you answer the questions? Yeah, sure. You bet. Thank you.
That will help.
That'll help a lot.
Wow, that was good. A lot of communication, very clear too. And is this something that you have to use your computer for, or is it on your?
Yeah, it's a filtration system. It uses a bunch of different principles, but it uses a physics process called stochastic resonance, and that's taking a signal and amplifying it with the use of white noise. White noise is used from everything from, medical equipment to different biological tests, physics tests. But when a signal's too weak to be detected by either human senses or a sensor, you can amplify that signal with white noise. And that's basically the process under which Staticom functions.
I think I would want you to come back and actually do a session while we're recording.
Well,
I think
right now that's a little tricky, only because this is an entire different computer system. To hook it into a live stream right now isn't really a possibility. Could I set it up next to the mic? Yeah, but then it makes it really hard for me to hear you talking, or vice versa. But it is multiple inputs, multiple outputs, which most streaming software can't handle. But I can tell you we're working on ways to make that possible.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Anything else you want to share about this? I'm blown away. Literally watched lots of videos with people communicating with spirits, and this is definitely the clearest I've ever heard.
Thank
And
you.
they're very I don't know what the word is. They want to speak to you. Whereas some of the videos I've watched for other people, it's almost like pulling teeth to get them to speak. But they seem willing to come to you.
Yeah, I mean, after 15 years of doing this, that time has definitely opened up the connection. They know they can speak, and I'm not going to freak out. They can call me by name, first, last, or together, and I'm not going to freak out. But let's say somebody just started, turned it on, and asked a question, and the response came back, and it just shocks them. Well, spirits don't want to do that either. They're not looking to scare you or upset you, so it's part of that process of that connection, that trust, that it's vital to making this occur.
What about you said they don't want to harm us. What about negative spirits? I mean, demons, things like that. Have you ever heard anything like that come through?
Yeah, once or twice. Now, do I want to say it was demonic? No, because, defining what demonic is, I mean, everybody knows of what Hollywood and television shows as being demonic. This was ugly. But would I classify it as demonic? I mean, the energy changed. Everybody that was in the room got nervous. We shut it down and all took a break because of the energy that was coming through it. But, do I know it was demonic? No. Have I ever in 15 years run into something demonic. I don't know. We've had some stuff that we would definitely call ugly, but I don't know I would ever use the word demonic because
Right. Yeah.
I guess until, and hopefully I don't, but
I know.
won't know it until if and when it ever happens. But
Yeah. Well, hopefully that never
not
happens.
to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I don't know how much I believe in some of the stuff we see on TV, but what was that one house, the demon house, Zach Baggins and whatnot? They actually encountered, I guess, spirits that made them physically ill. So I always wonder, is that something that people in your shoes worry about? How do you protect yourself?
Yeah, I mean, there are dangers. Are those dangers? Are you going to run into them every time you go out, or every 50 times? No. In 15 years, I come across something that I'm like, okay, this might be above us, once or twice.
Mm,
It's not common, but it is there. For everything that exists, there is an opposite, and life works that way. From down to atoms to molecules up to space and galaxies. Everything,
mhm.
there's that balance. So if there are angels, would there be demons? Probably. That balance occurs because one defines the other. Um, so yeah, I mean, if people talk about guardian angels, or so, would negativity along that same lines then exist? Yeah, I believe it would.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I definitely look forward to your progress with this. Come back anytime, show us more clips, more progress.
You
Um,
bet.
yeah, and if you ever are able to actually have it on screen, maybe we can do that. So
We've done it before with 2.0. 3.0 is just a little bit trickier. We'll figure it out though.
yeah,
Figure it out.
it's still new, so you'll get there.
It's only weeks old.
Yeah, there you go. So I'll have the links to Staticom, the website, and any other information in the YouTube description box so that they can easily access your information. And hopefully we'll have Tony back on. You can soon. So
Awesome.
in the meantime, thank you. It's
Thank
been a
you.
great session here. Good luck. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.